Welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And let's continue our discussion of tarot, tarot symbols, putting it all together. And I would say becoming a true tarot reader. Um, and there is a huge difference between someone who studies the tarot in the hermetic or occult way and a fortune teller, a psychic, an empath, someone who's doing it for money or attention. I call it a carnival act. And I think social media is a really great way to see what other people are doing and how they're doing it. Um, we all will have our own experience with the cards, and some of us will use it to make money. Some of us will use the cards to gain personal attention and status. Some people will use the cards to preach to you. Uh, I call it mental masturbation. If you like to hear your voice and you like to tell other people what to do, you kind of get off on that status. So I think the spiritual community, the new age community, there's a lot of people who are doing it for reasons that I don't personally agree with. But is that right or wrong? At this new stage of my development, I say it's not my place to say if it's right or wrong. Different strokes for different folks. If you want to have, uh, if you need a guru, if you need a parent, if you need a life coach, and you want some cheap advice, there's plenty of card readers to fill that void. I think there's a lot of people that need psychology, that need life coaching, that need behavioral therapy. Uh, and instead of going and paying, which now you can usually get free counseling, uh, there's all types of free services out there for you. Uh, but some people should pay a professional doctor to help them with stuff. Instead, they want cheap, hard, and fast. They don't really want to change and put forth the effort. So they rather go to someone like a card reader and receive multiple readings about this lover that's never coming back, you know. And so I think a lot of people escape into story. And so when I look at, I would call them amateur card readers. They tell a lot of stories. A lot of this person will come back. A lot of hopeful wishing. A lot of kind of like placing the prize in tomorrow, next, into the future. Instead of bringing the future into the present, they take this goal and move it farther into the future. So, they lengthen that stick that the carrot's on. And I feel like and I think it's unconscious. I think, it was well intending. They honestly think they're psychic. They're just great storytellers, uh, convincing themselves of their abilities. How does storytelling and psychic prediction come about? How can you be right? With the quantum theory model, um, all possibilities are happening now. All possibilities are actualities in the singularity of everything's happening now. So every story can sound true. Every story can come true. That's called possibility. but that's not actuality. So if you're using law of attraction techniques, what you're doing is you're aligning yourself with the possibility. If you're aligned with that possibility, then it can become an actuality, a manifestation. So now let's that's how the randomness of all the stories you hear, of all the predictions, can come about. And so there's different things you can do. You can believe in your false God, the storyteller, so much so you align with that storyline, you manifest it. And the reason why it breaks down and doesn't stay a part of your script, a part of your story, is it wasn't meant to be. So a coworker of mine turned to me one day and he said, "Onyx, do you believe in fate?" And how many times have we questioned, do we have free will? Can we make choices? Is there such thing as destiny? Is there such thing as fate? Are they all the same thing? Especially, I would say, in a very religious state, that it gets very controversial. It's a big deal. Do we have free will? And it plays out in subtle battles in spiritual community. If I can control someone else and bend them to my will, which is black magic, getting what I want out of somebody else, then did I take their free will away? Are they really in love with me? So I usually won't cast a love spell, because do we have free will? Is that a sacred right? Is that a boundary that I shouldn't cross? Should another boundary is, should I know the other person's intentions? Is it my right to understand them, their motives? Or is that actually their right? And so is the divination tool gonna backfire on me because I'm breaking some spiritual ethical code? Karma. Where do we draw that line? Where does my personal world end and yours begin? Where do I end and you begin? So certain signs are notorious for breaking boundaries, and certain personality types are prone to not honoring and respecting other people's boundaries. Some of these boundaries are flexible and ethereal. They're like mental constructs, like a moral code. That's an idea where we create this boundary. So cheaters don't have that boundary, that idea model in their head, that construct. So we might label them as bad. So we go into ethics and morality, and who are we to say what is good or bad? What moral construct to keep civilization civilized do we uphold in our generation? Is it tolerance for other races? Well, in the past, that wasn't a thing. Currently, it's a thing, but it doesn't mean it will stay a thing. Gender rights, equality, that's a morality call, And then some people will say, well, that's just logical. Well, we're not logical creatures. Welcome to reality. So there's a lot of things that go into card readings, and, personal beliefs, idealism, your story, your construct, your worldview, the idea that you work so hard called you, ego, like what you learn, so we have all these models we're working with. And I'd have to say none of them are reality. And so maybe everything is a story. And so it doesn't matter if it's real or unreal. It's just the story you believe in. And for some people, that's enough. But for people who want to go deeper, that's not enough. We want to understand how this story we are consciously or unconsciously choosing directs our life, directs our actions. Not taking action is an action. What keeps your faith alive? Why do we give so much power away to a deck of cards? Why do we give our power away to an invisible god or an invisible demon? There was a lot of people who was telling me, oh, if you have any spiritual gifts, they're from demons. And that's why you're tired when you're giving readings to other people. I'm like, no, people are draining. People are stupid. They ask a lot of questions. It's exhausting to do the thinking for them, to be their foresight. And so that's what it is. And how dare you come into my world and tell me the rules, tell me the architecture. How dare you take my personal power and give that to some force outside of me, outsource my own birthright, outsource my talents, outsource my truth to some invisible thing that can't be proven. The only thing that can be proven is myself. So you might come to these crossroads. You might, become a notorious. People have all sorts of ideas and opinions about you, all sorts of story making. Like, who are we without the story? So I would say be mindful, be ethical as you can be. Understand the power of story and the influence it has on others to take actions. And, let's move on. So, we kind of went on a tangent. So I would definitely say it's something that we need to look at. Who we are ethically, morally, what are our personal motives? Some of our motives, the society thinks is wrong. You don't get the popular yes. You don't get. And then others are very good. And you might be lying to yourself. I would say stop lying to yourself. As soon as you say, I really want to do card readings for money, I say, great, become a professional. If you're like, I want to learn card readings because I really just want to learn the mechanics of prediction, and psychic abilities or whatever, or just the mechanics of prediction, I say, great, go read. You can get paid if you'd like, but read, study, investigate, practice, experiment, figure out those mechanics for yourself. If you're just someone who wants a deck of cards for yourself, great, do it. But okay, let's move on. Now let's get past the illusion of story and the surface level of symbols as just face value. A person sitting on a throne called the emperor. Okay, so that must be a person of power, probably older than you, a government official. Okay, those are all true. But I encourage you to kind of like step into the card. This symbol, this emperor, is feel it. So, okay, it's polarized into masculinity. I don't have a judgment about that. It is what it is. It's a symbol. It's not personal. Don't take the cards personal. So I'm going to say that's a sign you're not ready for the Rider-Waite tarot deck. You can't have gender issues, gender rights, race issues. You can't have this stuff. The cards are neutral. You can go, this is a symbol of an emperor. Okay, now feel about it. Seated on a throne. The whole card is kind of reddish orange. There's ram heads everywhere. I immediately think of the Golden Fleece, that heroic story, and one of the tasks was to get the Golden Fleece, for its protective and healing qualities. And so the person had to fight like a monster to get it. So now let's bring that into a reading. So there's a heroic energy that no one's talking about with the Emperor. Okay, there's protective, healing qualities that no one's talking about with the Emperor card. That had nothing to do with age, sex, race. Okay. Now just sit with it. So we're kind of like unpacking the card. Now I'm just sitting here in the moment. Why? Why is, out of all the randomness, because there has to be a random element in divination tools, did this card pop up in this moment? How is it relevant? How does it bridge? How does it link a known to an unknown? Or how does it reveal this unknown? Okay, now I'm really starting to feel like a masculine force and natural attraction of the polarities. The more polarized they are, the stronger the magnetism. So I feel the male magnetism. We always say female magnetism. No, there's the male magnetism. Okay, it's what you're drawn to. And in my mind, I'm seeing him as an old man, but very much complete and very much in authority. And the words that come to my mind is, I am that I am. So I'm seeing a complete being and feeling the power radiate. And my response is attraction. My response. So what am I attracted to? Completion, wholeness. And it translates into a key word called power. And with power, you can rule. So then we look at the situation this person is in and their life path. And it's like, your real goal is to stand in your own personal power, which is different than sovereignty. Words are different. The word power and sovereignty are different. I think the empress, and the high priestess have a level of sovereignty, but the emperor is pure power. It's that purified masculine force. I am that I am. So it was kind of the goal that Carl Jung was talking about. He was like, you need to be separated from the flock. You need to become an individual. And you need to even separate from the world to become your true, authentic self, which brings you into balance, which brings you into self-awareness, which then helps you relax into your authentic being. So power and authenticity is what comes to my mind. And so that was like almost 5 or 10 minutes of unloading that card, looking at the content, spreading it out on the table. I wasn't just randomly shuffling, and then pulling another card to clarify, or pulling an oracle to add more nuance and understanding to the mysterious card that was before me. That card's only a mystery because you're not willing to peel back the layers. So we looked at the color red. We didn't change it to our artistic likings. I'm offended by red. Red's not popular. Red's not my favorite color. So I'm going to avoid this color. Oh, that's a man. In the current trend, I think I'm going to repaint this one of different age, different race, different gender. And I'm going to change the word emperor around because that's I'm not going to restylize the card. I'm going to accept it. But now I get to add it to the current morality of the day. So I don't need to change the card or the symbol. I just need to learn how to incorporate it. So kind of what I'm saying, my past associate, we would discuss tarot, and we both had an issue, and I didn't really see it. I don't see a lot of the polarization. I hang out in the middle pillar a lot. I hang out in non-duality. So when people start telling me their angst, their problems, they're very polarized. So I almost have to come down out of the mountains, out of the treetops, come down, try to get to their level, polarize myself to understand what they're saying, and then climb back up. So, anyways, there is and so really the Rider-Waite tarot deck is the best deck to learn from. I would say it's probably the greatest deck that doesn't need to be modified. Like, you can master tarot with the Rider-Waite deck. Other decks have been restylized to fit someone else's prejudice, those things that trigger them, those things that they don't want to look at, those things that they're very, very much yes for and very, very much no for. Because of the restylization, the polarization, it loses its power, which is universal. Without the universal element, it can't become a symbol relevant to all situations in nuanced ways. When it loses its universal versatility, it loses the power of predictability. So the real thing is, it's the reader and the client and the time period that they're living in that need to be adjusted. So we don't adjust the cards, we adjust ourselves. But that is personal responsibility. And so in homeopathics, sometimes the poison is the cure. So if you're allergic to poison ivy, you actually might get a very low dose of poison ivy, and it will literally take the symptoms away, or you gain a natural immunity towards it. So if you're sensitive to the sun, the cure is go out into the sun at low doses, take some of the poison, alleviates the symptoms. So this is part of homeopathic law, but it moves into psychology as well. So one reason why you can't read a card that you're going to quickly try to get clarification on is because you're having a mental block. The Emperor card come up, and it's an old man with a beard, and he looks very powerful and stern. This is very unloving. It's not what I like. It's contrary to what I'm going for. I'm having a reaction. I don't want to know I'm having a reaction, so I just draw a blank. Your mind is really good at just putting up filters and blocking things out and causing brain fog. So when you get stumped, it's not that, oh, my client just isn't ready for this information, or I need to quickly look at another card to gain clarification. Well, the responsibility is yours to clear out your prejudice, your bias, your programming, your construct. Well, that will require a change in self. You're going to have to remodel the character that you are. You might have to face some challenging things. So a lot of people then stay at the surface, swim around with everybody else, and don't get deeper because they're not willing to make the modifications, And so I would say, if you're not growing, if you're not in the world, then eventually the cards will outdistance you. The cards aren't prejudiced. There are so many people mishandling the cards. The cards is a snapshot of the world and humanity in all their glory, in all their disgust and profanity, in all their greed, and in all their humility, in all of their light, in all of their darkness, the rotting, the putrefaction, the death and decay, and the bloom of sweet-smelling flowers, inspiration, art, and greatness. To have a universal blueprint is a snapshot of everything. And so if you're an ageist, or if you have a fear of death, dying, rotting, and decay, you're missing a lot of the material hidden in the cards. If you don't want to know the unknown and you're going to keep it a mystery, it's just, if you don't want to learn the mechanics behind the scene, the cards will outdistance you. If you want to keep having conflict with your family members and not understand where they're coming from and just choose to hold a grudge, just choose to keep up your walls in the name of pride, self-preservation of the character that you think you are, which is just based on an idea, the cards are going to outdistance you. So because the cards are universal, they're past, present, and future. It's not the tools that need to change, it's the artist. It's not the tools that need to grow, it's the artist. We're kind of in this idea that if our tools change, we're advancing. We go, oh, we got a greater tool, so now we're smarter. No, that's not really true. Because if you were smarter, you could do more with your rudimentary tools. Look at all the great wonders of the world. They were done without our modern tools. They could be done with a completely different set of tools as well. So you are the greatest tool. You are the greatest instrument. And you have to dig into life to unlock the cards. So there is a part of the cards that is living. And that's you going out into the world, meeting and greeting sick people, old people, poor people, people caught up in abuse cycles, addictions. You can't keep your hands clean and expect to understand tarot, to understand humans, to understand your client. So that's the reality of it. So I think middle age is the perfect time to be dealing with the tarot cards and having the secrets revealed to you. Like, I mean, I've been reading cards since I was 7, okay? And I'm 47 now. Oh my God. And at each level, the cards gave me stuff. You know, certain doors are open, certain doors are closed. And looking at the entirety of it all, to have a living experience of life, you can understand the cards in a way that you can bring it down out of the clouds, out of the cosmos, and materialize it into usable information for others, you know? So without that, so what are young people doing? They're seeking to fill the cup of useful knowledge and to gain useful experience. You're looking for the data. You're looking for the codes. You're looking for the language. You're building it all together. That's what you're doing. And then once it's built, well, the universe already has the language and codes and the information and the data. And now that you have your set and the universe has its set, you cross communicate and a language comes out. You know, matching patterns, matching energies and vibrations, which will be matching, or you have to learn to put them correctly with colors, with symbols, with images, to almost form this middle ground language, this other language. So you have your language, the universe has its language, and what marriages them, what links them together, what bridges it all will be the cards. And you're like, okay, I understand this. I've worked with enough authority figures, or I've mentored enough people, or I've